to it.
Yeah.
All right, welcome everyone. We're going to get started here in about 30 seconds and let everyone get a cup of coffee, maybe get an extra little tea or something else before we jump into our time together this morning. So I'm Lincoln. I'll be hosting the training this morning, but I'll dive into it again in about 30 seconds as everyone gets settled in and gets their volume set up and all that good stuff. Okay, sounds good. Okay, so welcome, good morning, and I am very grateful that you all are able to join us this morning for a very helpful, hopefully practical and useful start to your Friday morning. My name is Lincoln Hughes. I'm with Microsoft, and I get to work with the lovely Wichita Public School District during this very unprecedented time. And I know the experience that we're having on the district side is small in comparison to what it is on the parent and guardian side. And so we just want to start off with a healthy dose of empathy and understanding and even a little bit of optimism, we hope, for what we can do to help share the burden that we know this time is putting on parents. So the goal today is not only to show you a little bit how you can help your student at home navigate the world that is Microsoft Teams, but we also hopefully will start off a relationship or can build on the one that already exists between the parents and the district to operate as one to help out the students or student in your home. So I'm going to go through a few things, ground rules and accessibility features and other features that might help you. But behind the curtain with me are some truly unsung heroes from the Wichita Public School side. They'll be answering some questions that are coming in throughout the talk today. And we will also be, escalating some of those, handling them live on air if we think everyone would appreciate it. And the second thing is we'll answer them through email or another form of communication if we don't know the answer right away. So they'll all be answered eventually. So attending this event, this might be a new format for many of you. I totally get that. So I appreciate those nearly 800 people that are already on this morning. So I'm gonna go through just what you're looking at and what all these buttons kind of mean and why they could be useful to you. So starting in the top right, the featured messages and links, again, that's the team behind the curtain and that's some of their magic. And they will be highlighting some of the questions or sending direct messages to everyone. So if you're like me and you like to kind of read while you're watching something, that's a good thing to have open. And you'll get some key information, some key links, and some other really helpful things for your student. Private questions live right next to it. You can post your questions publicly or anonymously. We don't have a preference, and those questions could be answered privately as well from our Q&A moderators. And then those questions, if we think that they are helpful to the whole group, we'll push those out live, and then you can ask a question down there. Moving down to the bottom toolbar, on the bottom right, it's probably my favorite feature, and that's the caption settings. So in the closed captions, the CC, you can pop that open, and it's going to be one of 5 languages that you can select from the settings little gear icon. And that gear icon is going to allow you to pick one of 5 closed caption settings. So there's English, there's Vietnamese, Spanish, Arabic, and I believe Swahili. I think those are the 5 languages that we decided on. There's only room for 5, so we had to cut some out, we know, but those might help if you're either more comfortable with a different language, or if you have little ones like I do at home that are still sleeping, thank God, still sleeping, and you have the volume down on low, and maybe just having closed captions is better than waking them up. And like Netflix or anything you watch online, you can pause, rewind the live stream. So I'm speaking here live to you, but at the same time it's being recorded, and you can back up the recording if you miss something or see something that you would really like to rewatch. So think about flip over. Yeah, so ask a question, team's here to help. I don't want to emphasize that enough throughout this whole event. The conversation today is not a one and done type of communication. It's a first of many, and it's an ongoing conversation that we want to have with the parent and guardian community of Wichita. We can't emphasize, I'll say it, you probably get sick of me saying it today, that we totally recognize and are totally empathetic to the difficulties that this time brings to parents and guardians and the little ones in your house. And so we just want to make sure that we're doing everything we can, and we're consciously thinking of how do we best do that for your students. So I'm gonna flip to what we're going to use as, send that live. Good. What we're going to use to walk through the topic of today, and that's supporting your students' learning in Microsoft Teams. So you're going to be able to kind of get a high-level view. We'll share this out as well, either through this chat or a different method after it. But it's going to be a very, very detailed, thorough, meticulous way that you're going to help your student navigate. We know library students are digital natives, and they know they're using Teams already. They're using all these tools in their classes already, or they were last spring or even last fall. But we know that when students get frustrated, sometimes they have a tendency to shut down. And as educators and child advocates, that's the last thing we want on our side. So we want to make sure that when your student, if they ever do run into the speed bump, that you're ready to remove that blocker for them so they can get to the learning. So we're going to continue here, and I'm just going to click through and kind of narrate as we're popping through. And Q&A moderators, feel free to take yourself off mute at any point, and make sure that I cover something more thoroughly or emphasize a certain topic. So this is a story of a student named Enrico, not a real student, but a student we talk about frequently, and he's a student at Pineview Middle School, and we're going to do a quick tour to understanding what his experience might look like using Microsoft Teams. So he's going to get started at office.com, and students are going to sign in with their school email or school username and password, and they're going to click next. So this is making sure that they are officially a student, and making sure, again, that the space is secure and safe and only for people that Wichita Public Schools wants in their environment. Another theme that I'm going to hit on today again and again is safety and security, and making sure that as long as your students are working within the Wichita Public Schools, ethics and digital literacy expectations, they're going to be safe and secure, and their time with these devices are going to be productive and for the betterment of their education. Password, just going to type that through, next and continue. Great, and so this is just once you sign in, Office 365, these are a bunch of things. Maybe you have used them in your place of work before, but there's everything, and we're going to actually just focus on Teams. There's a lot in here that educators are going to be using, but today's focus is just going to be on the Teams app. And Teams is honestly just a force of nature. It is a communication and collaboration hub where students can interact with their, advisors, counselors, at some point other students, not right now, but at some point, and their educators in large group settings. All of it is safe and secure and backed up with all these security settings called communications compliance. It's really boring, we won't go into it, but it allows the district to be able to manage and control and address communications, so they're up to the standard of Wichita Public Schools. So in Teams, Enrico can participate in these class discussions, virtual meetings, ask questions, turn in his homework, all in one place. If you don't see a full list of classes right away, you can join one with a code. Wichita Public Schools is forward thinking enough to have all the students and have their classes loaded up, so students won't have to do that. It's just going to be a sign in, and you'll be seeing what you need to see. So at top right, you can join or create a team, or click next to continue. I'm actually going to just jump into that. So this is the way they could join a team, and teams are kind of what you would imagine for students. So like Enrico's in middle school, so these might be his classes throughout the day. In a normal day, it would follow a bell schedule. So it's algebra, physical science, social studies, English, geometry, and biology. Fun emojis. The idea behind it is we want to make it as student friendly as possible. So there is, colors, there's notifications, there's lots of things that are going to help Enrico both be engaged and help himself. So there's plenty of ways for him to, search for things. If there's a chat that he missed or homework assignment, he might search through all these different, what we call apps on the side here, and we'll go through some of them today. But the idea is a central place. I heard from a University of Kansas student that used it in his class recently, and he said it's a one-stop shop for everything to get my work done. And I really like that from a student from University of Kansas, because they're using it at that university as well, and he said it best. So we're going to click on physical science to see what's going down in physical science for this semester. You can see Miss Coleman here is his teacher, Kara Coleman. She's also Microsoft famous in every demo that we have. So she has control of the group and has a lot of features that Enrico won't have, but one of them is to make these awesome announcements. So physical science, some sort of project was due. She extended the deadline, and Enrico, being the empathetic student that he is very excited to be able to reply to it and say, great, I have some more time on my assignment. So the post tabs where students can read messages and announcements from the teachers, view files, and join discussions if the teacher has allowed for that option. So besides Parent University, there's a Teachers University as well going on across the month of August. I think it's something like 45 hours that your teachers are putting into learning about all these digital tools to replicate that rich experience online as well as in person, as that balance is kind of getting figured out across the school district. And so the idea behind it is, can we provide as engaging, as rigorous, as social, emotional, competency able in a digital environment as that we know that students are used to in the physical classroom. And so all that stuff is going to be trying to bolt it into these environments, so students can operate, online, in person, 100% online, possibly 100% in person later on in the semester. Knock on wood. That's going to help them, make sure that they get the education that they deserve. So Enrico's students have posted above him here, and you can see that is all, reacted to. There's positive emojis here. Obviously, it's like thumbs up, smiley face, wow face, heart, kind of what you might see, on a social media app, but a little fewer options, just because we know students like choice, but sometimes too much choice is room for creativity. So that's fun, that's engaging, that's going to meet the students where they're at. They could ask questions. These questions are seen by the other students as well. So if you're asking a question about this project, maybe looks like Enrico's working on it at about 5:30, maybe after the teacher has gone on with other things in their life, and she can answer it, another student can answer that question. But the idea is to promote collaboration and really replicate what the students are going to be expected to do when they enter the workforce or higher education or another option. We want to make sure we're replicating that real world environment in a safe and nurturing space. Calendar is going to help your students navigate kind of this unprecedented time. Again, it lives right within the Teams, so they don't have to leave the application, or if they want to use the web browser, awesome, fantastic. It works on Microsoft Edge, it works on Firefox, it works on Chrome. Anywhere that they have access to the internet, they're going to be able to access this. I personally use the app all day, every day, and it's just fantastic. So what does it say now? In Physical Science Lab 1 meeting, you click Join or Next to continue. So to jump into a face-to-face meeting, a class with your educator, you're going to have meetings invites on your schedule. So for May 5th, 2020, a few months ago, Ms. Coleman had a physical science lab #1 set up a few days a week here at the 9:30 time slot. And so you're going to join that. You can join before. You're going to wait in the student's going to wait in a lobby if they join before the teacher, just because we want to keep that space pretty safe and make sure there's always an adult supervising. And they can join that, jump into it. They're going to launch the meeting. It looks like this. Best practice. We all probably been on calls with friends or family or work buddies that someone's off mute. I know I've done it myself. I've joined a meeting and then I'm talking to my wife about groceries or something that's not has to do with the topic at hand. And my colleagues hear all about my grocery list for the weekend. So best practice, digital skill, life skill now to make sure you're on mute. If you want to share your video, great, highly encouraged, but not mandated. So Enrico is going to be brave. He's going to jump in here. And then Ms. Coleman's going to be sharing her screen, talking about sharks here. In the meetings, the Microsoft Teams meetings, it's going to look very similar to what you're seeing right now. You probably feel like the bar, okay, these are kind of like the same icons. Okay, there's video, toggle on and off. There's audio, share your screen. Beneath here is kind of where we always say Microsoft is where we hide all the good stuff. And so that's where the newest features are always going to be hiding behind. So that might be large gallery view where you can see a bunch more people. That's going to be closed caption for your students who are hard of hearing, for your students who maybe struggle with English, and are people like me who were up until about college a low reader. And it just was always helpful for me watching TV or listening to some video. To having the closed captions on, it helped me pay attention, it helped me follow along, and so that's hidden behind here. And then the chat, which is what the demo wants me to click on right now, it's going to pull up a chat window on the right side that's going to be a running conversation between the classmates and the educator and any paraprofessional, teacher assistant that's also in the class. So the recording. Ms. Coleman's all about it. She's putting up videos. Ella's super excited. That's great, Ella. I know not every student's probably not super excited, but that's awesome classroom culture. And so questions can be added there, GIFs as appropriate. I think the settings are very strict in Wichita, so it's pretty elementary on what GIFs and emojis they can use, which is great, and they can have fun with it. And we want students, who are express themselves through written word to have a space, through verbal to have a space, through other ways to have a space. So as you can see here, some people listening might be like, well, my student learns best by speaking with the educator. That's awesome. There's going to be a space for that. And others know that their students like to advocate for themselves through questions. That's great. And other students who are maybe more introverted, they're going to be able to piece together how they want to do through the chat, and maybe click on an emoji or click like on a question, or say I have that question too, to really make sure that they are getting what they need. So again, digital format, in-person format, we're trying to replicate the rich learning experience that we know Wichita's public schools strives to achieve every day, and we're going to strive to achieve that in a digital format as well. Okay, at the end of it, you can end the call button. We're going to click next. So that is, and this was a lesson in Teachers University that we had about a week ago, is that teachers know how to record their lessons. If they want to do it live with a bunch of students, they want to do it before, after class, and add different bells and whistles to it, that's great too. And they can share that again right in the general channel there. Assignments is a fantastic resource. Again, keeping your student in one platform, in one environment, so they don't have to have 10 tabs open to navigate throughout their day. They can just have one space for 90-95% of their work. That's the goal here, to keep it simple and keep the focus on learning. And so underneath the assignments tab here at the top bar, the project looks like it's worth 100 points, big project, I would say. The rubric, so it's gonna help the educator articulate what good, great, and excellent look like. So it's always a good teaching practice. Here's an example of a standard grading rubric. Your students or your teachers might have something more, but just to really be transparent on what excellent looks like, what good looks like, what fair, what poor looks like. These are kind of standard that Microsoft provides, but your educators will be able to modify this based on the needs of obviously grade level, subject area, all that good stuff. 100 points possible. Again, big project, and Rico's excited. Immersive Reader, I think this is truly a game-changing technology that's built into Teams. It's built into PowerPoint, it's built into Microsoft Word, it's even built into our web browser called Microsoft Edge. So my colleague Andy and I were speaking yesterday, and we were checking it out on the Wichita Eagle, and we actually pulled up the website, opened up an article, and we clicked on Immersive Reader just with that current events news article. I forgot what the topic was, but it was in the Wichita Eagle. So Immersive Reader is a tool that looks like that. So kind of real quick demo of what that looks like. Immersive Reader is going to help students, who again are lower level readers, English language learners, students that just prefer additional structure while they read. And some things that I think we are all going to recognize as just best practices in teaching. So you can change the text size for visual. That's just the beginning. So that's one of them. You can switch to dark theme, which I have at my device all day just because it's a little bit easier in my eyes, and I pick up when the background's dark and it's lighter. It's also, I'm a big time gamer, and if your student is a gamer at home, they might feel like it's more natural because a lot of video games are built more in dark mode than kind of this hygienic look that you see here. Grammar options. So depending on the grade level of your student, I believe Enrico's in middle school, so some of this is going to be relevant to him and some of it not. It's kind of in the middle space. So syllables, that's going to break up the words in the whole document to, I want to show that again, in the whole document so they can see each of the syllables. So as they go through it, they're reading out loud. That just gave us a little 1 second view of it, but it's going to help them break down these words. We know reading is achieving, and if students don't understand what they're reading and can't read it out loud, oftentimes comprehension lags as well. So it's just one way to give another piece of support to your students. Students who are, this is best practice from ELL, but students who are learning a new language, understanding what's a noun and what's a verb and those things, you can change the colors of that document to help your students understand and comprehend. Line focus feature, this is how my grandma taught me how to learn, how to read, 30 some years ago, making sure that only one word or one line is visible at a time to give me that structure, and so I don't get overwhelmed with all the words on the page, and I can just focus on a few at a time. And then translate for your students and yourself at home. If you prefer to read in a different language, awesome. You can translate by each individual word, or you can do the whole document. So I think that was French. Yeah, French. That jumped right into the whole document, and that can be toggled back and forth from French, what you see now, back into the original. So just really fascinating stuff. Again, all within Microsoft Teams, not leaving the document. This is, again, really helpful for students who are struggling or working on nonfiction reading. That is my passion in life, is nonfiction reading, and seeing this brings a tear to my eye, to be honest. And so every time a student sees a noun, they can hover above it and they can see what that noun word, how it is spelled and spoken to them in French or their language of their choosing. I think there's 72 languages. All the languages that we're translating or closed captioned today are also available, and they can hear in English as well. And probably best for these visual learners and students who are so used to seeing things visually today is they see a little visual of what that word looks like. So whether it's a dragon, whether it's an atom, whether it's an ocean, they can see a little small picture of what that might look like to trigger that connection. Be like, okay, I know what an ocean is. Oh, that's an ocean. That word must be pronounced ocean. So all fantastic. It can be read to them as well, which is great. We know students who struggle with reading comprehension, having it read to them one time really improves comprehension. So Enrique's assignment, it's going well. He's working hard on it. He appreciated the deadline. Jumped into uploading the file from his OneDrive, which is a file sharing service that again lives within Teams. He can attach that to his project, and then I'm trying to get to the big one. There it is. So this is something that's, kid-centric, right? We're talking kids here. We're talking fun. I backed it up. I want to undo my turn and turn it again. But as you see here, depending on the assignment, every time students turn something in, they get rewarded with a little visual display, whether it's like a unicorn or there's a dragon one. That was like I don't know what you call that, octopus getting some ice cream. But just got a silly, fun, surprising, quick, little doses of enjoyment that we know students love to see and we love to encourage. So assignments tab, so that's going to live there. It's turned in. As you see here, I don't think it should go without saying that the written feedback here is huge. Teachers can quickly do this in a big, just like they would, after school. They can do it just within Teams as well on their side. And again, teacher university is going on just as parent university is going on right now, and they can see and give feedback to each student, all that good stuff. Class notebook. Think of OneNote as a really big 3-ring binder. So in middle school, I think it's almost standard that, kids just have one binder for the whole day, right? Just keeps them organized. It's hard to lose things when you just have one thing to hold on to. And OneNote is just that tool in a digital format. So they can see, and their teachers can put in their binder, in their OneNote, everything that it might need for that class. So the student doesn't have to go and, pull a bunch of things, go to email, go to other places, check out the rubric, all that stuff. No, it belongs in one spot. And so this space, students can see their own sections, but can't see other students' sections, right? We don't want students to see other students' work. We want them to be doing their own work, and OneNote accounts for that. With the devices you all have, you can have the documents, and then Miss Coleman, I forgot her name almost, Miss Coleman in our demo here, she can write on them and just narrate some of the things that are going on. As of yesterday, within OneNote, you can also have translation go on within this space. So if your student wants to hear from a different language, they can just highlight and let that go. The demo is not updated with that technology yet, but it came out yesterday. Students can draw using their mouse, finger, or stylus. Immersive Reader, again, like I said, built in, non-stigmatizing, and free. It's everywhere, right? And we want students to use it. We want them to be champions of their own accessibility and advocates of themselves, but we know we need some adults to teach them how to do that. So Immersive Reader is included in this parent demo because we want you all and the guardians that are supporting your little students to be using these tools, to be understanding them, and then letting them go, letting them create, letting them develop, letting them think critically, letting them become the citizens that Wichita community needs. Yeah, so that's the quick tour of everything that you might need. So again, the group is going to share we'll share this link. I can peek over there, see if it's been shared already. I'm sure it has. But we encourage you to have that as kind of your first level of defense as students, really jump back into the school year, and we expect them to be learning, doing rigorous activities. And hopefully my brief overview there helped some basic understanding. But again, we trust that students are resilient. We trust that they are digital natives and they want to learn. So as long as we can set up an environment that allows them to do that safely and securely, that it's going to be a very successful start to this unprecedented school year. So I'll pause there for any moderator to jump in with questions, and we can maybe tailor this a little bit to what you're seeing coming in from all the parents and guardians that have joined.
Hey, Lincoln. Yeah, I was gonna say, I think a couple of people would benefit being able to just re-demonstrate where that immersive reader is, and just re-going over that.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are on their phone, and so just keep that in mind if you're describing where things are. But I think that would be a good thing for them to be able to see, because I know there's a lot of concern about just supporting the students as needed.
Yeah, totally. I love it. I'll do it quickly. Then I think that might have been Smoke or Tana that jumped into the other one. But I'll pull up a very topical article from the Wichita Eagle. If that's not too on the nose, I don't know what is. So here's some work. I've seen this. Some people on this call have helped put together some of this work. So this is an article, 40 minutes updated about at midnight, looks like 7 hours ago. So there is this article, English, as you see, there's a visual right here, right? If you think of you are putting Enrico or another middle school in front of this, they might get kind of distracted by this like glossy video. I don't know what it's even about, fashion. This is probably, knowing the times might be a political thing or whatever. Okay, so that's that, right? That's difficult. That's difficult to get to the article the student wants to read. And so Immersive Reader, again, it's going to live in different places in different applications. I'll go back to Teams in a second, but I'm just going to go and show the features within this. So what Immersive Reader is going to do, it's going to remove all these extra things that might live on the left side or the right side, above or below the article, and just to eliminate some of that distraction to begin with. So just starting there. Second thing Immersive Reader is going to do is it can read out loud. All right, and so it's going to audio, and for those on the phone, what you're seeing right now would be the article itself, and the article is being read to the student, and the student can, I think there's a few different options. Yeah, there's more options than probably needed, but there is a male and female voice for each of, I think there's like 45 languages there or something, and it can be fast or slow. Awesome. So that's one. Closed voice options. Text preferences. So we briefly went over that again. Text size can help if your student, performs better on a small screen with big words. Kind of that's how I have my workflow set up. So there's less distraction on the screen. I pump up the text size to make it make sense for me. Text spacing. Again, so what you're getting to see here is more what you would see in like an elementary or a middle school reading textbook, right? Where it's a little bit more simple, straightforward, spaced out, for a younger reader, all that stuff. So grammar tools, getting into it even more, syllables. So it's pretty subtle if you weren't catching that, but syllables, it goes from, Wichita is more word to Wichita, and helping the student articulate as they're reading to themselves in their head, as they're learning how to read. It's going to help them do that. But we know that students are expected not only to learn how to read, we want them to read to learn. And so they have to sometimes do both at the same time. And we're trying to create some ways to help that. And then reading preferences, last one before I flip back to Teams. Again, the demo is going to slow it down. I believe back in the day we called these reading rulers. Someone feel free to chime in the chat if that's right. But just having that piece of paper that shows just a few words, or maybe one word at once, and then two, and then a whole paragraph, and you work your way up to the whole page. So same idea here. Again, just to help that student and give them some structure. We know that there's a lot of distractions that come online with reading, and we want to eliminate as many as possible. Picture dictionary, again, this one as a former middle school teacher myself. Let's see if this article has the ability to do that. Oh, it's only where stars are. So it might not work here just because of the format of the article. translate. What was, I'll pick the first one that I remember being on the list for today. If it's gonna be Spanish, that's fine, but you know, Spanish is one of them. So we can translate a word or the entire page, takes a second, and boom, it's now in Spanish. Pretty life-changing, right? And so the research behind this shows that the translation here is on par with the human translation. Are human translations perfect? No. You know, English isn't perfect, slang words are not perfect, but the idea is it's on par with the human translator, which is totally empowering for your kiddo. And I will, oh, I didn't want to do that. I wanted to go back here. So back here to that, and I'll kick it back. I don't know if that was Tanner or Smoke with the other question that there was, but I hopefully handled the question coming in from Josh about Immersive Reader, and we'll include a really clean kind of snippet, 90-second, 2-minute professional demo of Immersive Reader, so you all can have that kind of in your one-stop shop for how do I help my student navigate this world. Hold me to that, Josh.
Yes, Lincoln. And it's important to share that our teachers will be providing additional training to your students. So when they do get logged in, we'll be guiding them step by step on what to do. So, and this recording is going to be added to our Wichita Public Schools YouTube channel. So you can come back and watch this again if needed. So hopefully that helps.
Yeah, absolutely. And to double up on that, and all those resources, they're going to be very polished. This is one we just wanted to kind of give people a reason to jump into the pool, get started, kind of get their feet wet with all these different worlds. I think if I heard this for the first time, I personally would be overwhelmed. So if there's some, you know, there's some deep breaths going on the other side of the screen, on your screen, I totally can relate to that. And I know if my child was, you know, just jumping into the school year and we didn't quite know, there's a lot of uncertainties in the world right now. We want to make sure that we're not only giving it to today, we're going to have resources on tap in one centralized place, so you all don't have to go and become experts yourself, but you'll be able to find, you know, quickly if there's ever a challenge facing your student. So anything else that's kind of a theme coming up in the Q&A? I'm just going to kind of navigate back into the Teams environment in case there's a question about just this basic navigation.
Lincoln, there was just a basic navigation. It's kind of Wichita based. You mentioned that they can sign up with email or their Rapid Identity. So parents, we have something called Rapid Identity, and that's your student's 6-digit ID with @USD259. And just like they've done all last year, they can still navigate to that Rapid Identity, click on that Teams icon or that Office 365 icon, and navigate to this world as well. Once you can use their email to log in, but to log in for the school, then that information can still be their 6-digit ID. Passwords are a big question, Lincoln. And what I'm going to say is password information will come out. Device information of how you're getting devices is coming out. There is another board meeting on Monday with device discussions, policy discussions that have to be changed. Once that board meeting meets and then schools will start rolling out that plan to you, exactly how to get the device, how your students are going to log in, what is their username and password. And so look for that information from your school in text, in email, in phone calls, on all sorts of ways that they've been communicating with you. They will do that as well. So I just wanted to answer that Wichita specific question.
Thank you. I started speaking to that and I'm like, oh, I know Rapid Identity and I know email's a new thing. And so thanks, Tana, for kind of correcting me, stepping in and correcting, advocating for the students there. So it's coming out. We know some of the ships getting built as it's floating and moving along the river. But thank you so much. And Tana, again, how are parents and guardians going to receive that information?
All the ways that you receive this information to know to come to this meeting. I know as I have a kid in USD 259 as well, and I got a text, I got an email, I got a phone call from my school. They have a very active Facebook page. I got that as well. And so any way that you've received this information, that same information will probably be coming out in that same manner. So it's the texting feature is very good. So if you're not getting information, if you're hearing by word of mouth instead of direct communication from your school, please reach out to them and just make sure that they have the most accurate addresses for you, to make sure that we can reach you when needed. And that's the way that I anticipate it coming out, is the same way you got information to come to this session. That same information will be shared as soon as available, of picking up devices, what is their username and password, all that stuff. Because picking up devices is going to look different at different schools, just because our different schools have different number of kids, different number of entrances, all those circumstances. And so it will be kind of building decision of how that looks.
Love it. Love it. Awesome. And if you know someone that's new to the district, or, you know, seems that they could appreciate just another reminder of where this information is coming from, it definitely takes a village right now. So don't hesitate to remind people or show people where to sign up for these things, or just give them the information to make sure we don't let anyone fall through the cracks. That's awesome. Anything else? Josh, Smoke, Dana, Andy, that's a theme throughout it. I want to be respectful of everyone's time. I just truly appreciate and know how important this is, but how busy everyone's life is too. So I wanted to kind of keep it, 3 feet deep, 100 yards wide sort of topic today. But if we want to dive into anything specifically, I'm happy to do so.
We just have a couple of folks again who and I know you've covered it a couple of times, but just pointing them where the Immersive Reader is, just as a very quick reminder. And I will say that our session here today is being recorded, so if you need to come back to it. But what does the icon look like? We have a question specifically for that.
Yeah, the icon that's a great question, actually. The icon looks like this book with a little, what am I trying to say, audio in front of it. So it's going to be a different color when it's turned on. And you can always find that little icon, whatever immersive reader lives. And so I think it's turned off now. But the technology itself was originally built, kind of a fun backstory. It's only 2 years old, and it was built over what we call a hackathon, where we have random people from Microsoft get together under a general topic. And the topic that these parents got under at Microsoft out near Seattle was parents whose children are dyslexic. It's a self-help group of like-minded parents that are always looking for ways to help their students who have been diagnosed with dyslexia. And they put together this technology with that in mind. It's kind of expanded from there. Obviously, there's some, if you have a dyslexic student at home, some of these modifications aren't traditionally used, but some of them are. And the original kind of set of features, that's where Immersive Reader came out of. And we said that's a great idea. We should work our tails off to get it in all of our different platforms. So even, I don't have one pulled up. I apologize for not having another demo pulled up, but the idea that, you can have even a chat, if you have a series of chats with your teacher, those can be plugged into Immersive Reader. So to answer that question straightforwardly, again, we'll get it out in just a kind of a bite-sized, snackable training format, but also this recording is training if you want to go through it all again. But the icon itself is this open book with a little audio icon in front of it.
Thanks, Lincoln. One is asking, can the Immersive Reader be used in a different browser? And I'm correct to say that it works in Edge, correct?
It works in Edge, yeah. And so it's a Microsoft technology, so it's going to live on Microsoft products. Anyone, it's common knowledge in the space. If anyone wants to use it, Chrome, Firefox, Safari, they are happy to take the technology and plug it into their browsers. I would imagine, I don't know off the top of my head, but I would imagine some of those other browsers have some accessibility features, but I can speak with confidence to Microsoft Edge, which is going to be the preferred browser for Wichita students and educators.
Thank you.
trying to think of. Yeah, that's great. So I don't want to keep everyone. We had up until I believe 8:50 to kind of go through everything, and I have a tendency, if you couldn't tell, to maybe talk a little bit, ramble a little bit, get really excited, and go into deep dive into things. But I try to do my best. I have a post-it note on my screen right now that says, "Be tight with time." So I'm trying to fulfill that mission with my post-it note that I put in front of my screen this morning, to be tight with my time, because I know that all the parents here and their educators here as well today, that they have 1,000 things to do right now, and there's probably a little bit of anxiety with everything going on across Wichita community, across the Midwest, across the country right now. And we just want to humbly say thank you for the work you've already put in, and thanks in advance for the work that we're gonna need to do together to make sure our students get the education they deserve this year. So I'll stay on, I'll put myself on mute. I'll stay on and jump into the Q&A if there's some questions that pop up. But you know, consider the formal part of this presentation over, and we'll gather back here, some of us, for the next session at 9 o'clock this morning.